Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. My name is Leonard Brackett. This is the Belizeans Affairs Show number 269. 269 for Wednesday, 19th of March, 2025. Again, my name is Leonard Brackett. I'll be your chairman for tonight. The chairman is excused. He had to go and take care of some other matters, more pressing matters, in a strategic meeting, in regards to some legal matters that is still before the court, and therefore he's not available to us tonight. Our next panelist, Mr. Brackett, as well, he's not feeling too well right now, so I'll try to do the best I can tonight in terms of presenting a fair enough program. Hopefully, whatever I have to offer on the program tonight will be of some public benefit, positive public benefit that I hope. And it is my intention to try and add a little bit of clarity to some of the background information that is not necessarily available and or that the public may not be aware of in regards to certain issues that took place over our recent past and has us in a current crisis mode. I'll just ask your forbearance that I go ahead and do the program as we normally start off with a prayer and then a short reading. And after that, I'll ask for about a minute or so extra time to make sure that I log in. As a matter of fact, I should probably ask to do that now, because otherwise that part of the program will not be available to those people who are trying to tune in. So just indulge your forbearance in allowing me to launch this part of the program, please. I'll take about a minute and a few seconds to do that. Let me see how quick I can do it without making a mistake, and then I have to go and redo. I hope not. Okay, so let's see. Gotta unlock, make it public. That's that. And then I gotta go and enter. Just a second. I gotta go and edit so I can put the banner and name of the show. So please bear with me. I'll be through that in a couple of minutes. Not a minute or so, I think. What is it? Belizean Affairs. Belizean Affairs show number 2. I'm back up a little bit here for a second, please. Please bear with me. Number 2, 6, 9. I gotta go back here for a minute to make sure. Enter that comma so it doesn't. Okay, so just give me a few more seconds. I'll be there with you. Wednesday. Wednesday 19th. March, the year is 2025. Close bracket. Okay, that takes care of that. Okay, so let me just do it. Okay, so we're off and running on that. At least the rest of the public can know. Okay, that takes care of that. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and do the prayer. If you spare me a couple of minutes. Divine loving Father, thou who art our Creator and the Creator of heaven and earth and all that in them are, into thy hands we commend ourselves, loving Father, asking that thou would continue to have mercy upon us, that thou must continue to guide and bless and protect us, that thou may continue to grant us wisdom, knowledge, understanding, endurance, perseverance, and fortitude equal to the task before us tonight. We pray that thou mayest continue to bless our family members, our friends, our loved ones, each and every one of them. Thou knowest them by name and number. Thou knowest our hearts, our desires, even our most secret thoughts. We pray that thou mayest continue to bless our country of Belize, its people and leadership, and that thou mayest continue to bless this country of the United States, its people and leadership as well, and that thou would have mercy upon those people who have need of health, strength, courage, endurance, who who have need of food, those who are in war zones, that thou must have mercy upon them. We pray that thou mayest continue to have mercy upon people who are in hurricanes, tornadoes, fires, and other disasters, both natural disasters as well as man-made disasters, Lord. Please continue to abide with us, we pray, for we ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for allowing me to indulge in that short prayer, and I'll try and be expeditious here in doing a small reading from the book of Proverbs, and I will choose chapter 28, starting at verse 1. The wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are bold as a lion. And that is our short reading for tonight. Thank the Lord for the privilege to partake in reading the scripture.
We can see that recovery vessel slowly but surely closing the distance.
Okay. Let me see. No, that's not it. Okay. Now, here we go. Mm-hmm. Okay. I want to take up the matter of the United Democratic Party having gone through a process of divisiveness, division, and self-destructiveness. What had happened is some of the members of the party were aggrieved at the leader that existed at the time. And within the boundaries of the United Democratic Party constitution, it says that if the members are aggrieved to that extent, especially if there are those that are members of the uh, biannual conference delegates or the National Party Conference delegates that they could have redress for those grievances if they can muster at least 50% of the delegates. They can then go to the chairman of the party, inform him of that desire to have a conference, and the chairman and the secretary general should work together to facilitate them having the opportunity to put that request for the conference in motion and allow it to come about. However, the person that motion was targeting at the time was actually the leader of the party. And the chairman, who was put in that position as chairman to look out for the interests of the party leader, did not took kindly upon that request from that delegation that came to him. He would not hear it. He would not do his constitutionally obligated functions, and he walked out of the meeting and refused to countenance fulfilling his obligation. Therefore, for all intents and purposes, we can say he was in dereliction of his job, for which that very same organization, which is the highest powers of the party according to the Constitution, under who these different committees operate with delegated powers from them, that because the chairman abdicated his sworn responsibility to the party and the Constitution and refused the request of these most powerful delegates of the party, that the chairman then went and conspired with the deputy chairman and the leader and others, because they were delegated to run the party on a day-to-day basis according to the Constitution, in the absence of any decision from the NPC, which is the National Party Conference. And they would not allow this conference to go forward without their blessing, under the presumption or the stipulation to the members and the wider public at that they held the powers unto themselves to abrogate their responsibility and deny that National Party Conference delegate the opportunity to exercise their powers and rights. And that would be like standing the law on its head. That is to say, the Constitution says that the National Party Conference is the maximum authority of the party and decides on behalf of the party what is and isn't. They are also authorized to change the Constitution. They are also authorized to expect that the party party leaders and organizational structure that they authorize and grant powers to would fulfill their obligation. But as I explained earlier, there was a conspiracy within the party to undermine this group. And there came Mr. Michael Perifit, who was the person at that time acting as chairman of the party, trying to deny them the right for them to exercise their privilege and powers, because they had gotten more than 50% of the vote in order to force him to comply. But his abrogation of his duties meant that they had to then find another way to justifiably have their convention, have their meeting, and make their decisions. They should not and could not have been precluded from so doing by virtue of Mr. Perafit, as the chairman, refusing to do his job, and thereby trying to sandbag them because he was supposed to be the chairman of any such meeting. They invited him to the meeting. He chose not to go. The leader chose not to go because they did not have enough delegates in that National Party conference for them to prevail with their underhanding and conniving behavior, basically undermining the constitutional process. So, for their dereliction of duty, at least in the case of Mr. Perafit, for his dereliction of duty, on the 20th of October last year, the National Party Conference, as a majority, and with a majority quorum, which was more than almost 70% of the authorized delegates, went through what they had requested Mr. Perafit to do and sacked him from that position because of his temperament and his willingness to bastardize the Constitution and to undermine the highest authority of the Constitution. And they also went ahead and dismissed the leader of the party at that time, Mr. Sharon Barrow, who was the person that they wanted to have this convention to find out whether or not Mr. Barrow would have enough delegates to prevail and remain as leader. Otherwise, they wanted to banish him because of his conduct. Part of his conduct was he was, as leader, and in his committee, he was trying to remove duly nominated standard bearers of the UDP from their position and to replace them with people who would have been more to his liking so that he can capture those delegates under his control. So that when the next conference would come by, he would have those delegates suborned to him and they can vote to make him remain as party leader. So his ambitiousness, his treachery, his maliciousness and malignancy came to the front and caused him to make a series of mistakes that eventually ended up with him being recalled as party leader, which is the prerogative of the party and the party organizational structures, and in particular, as all organizations of the party are under the jurisdiction of the National Party Conference. And the duly authorized delegates to that NPC, which were the same delegates that had put him in place initially on the Belizean. Well, at least I know a little bit more than what I'm letting on, and I can't dispel, in this public forum here, just say just about any and everything that I happen to know from behind the scene. But there are things that happened on Belizean that should not have happened, which was one of the other reasons why they thought that the gentleman's temperament as leader of the party was not kosher, and they thought that Mr. Perafit's behavior was not kosher on the basis of some of those things that happened during that convention. Okay? But I don't want to go back all the way to that convention. I want to move come forward from the from the October 20th, 2024 NPC, which after it happened, Mr. Perafit was saying because he did not authorize it, it was then to be considered as illegitimate. Who the hell is he to dictate to the National Party Conference that anything that they decide is right, wrong, or legitimate or illegitimate? He has no such power to make any such pronouncement. That is the right and the power of the Constitution vested in the National Party Conference. As a matter of fact, he is beholden to them. He is a subordinate officer, and all other officers are subordinate to the National Party Conference. He knows that. He's a lawyer, and as the chairman, he's supposed to have known enough about the party constitution to know that he was pulling a fast one, being in dereliction of his duty, and bastardizing the party's process and procedures and protocols. And for those reasons, the party went into a outright warfare, intra-party struggle to acquire and maintain leadership by two different factions. That is the faction led by Ms. Tracy Panton, who was voted in on the 20th of October to be the interim leader after they had already sacked the previous leader, Mr. Shine Barrow, from that position. He still did not try to just move on as per the authorities of the party. He decided that he wanted to contest that authority to which he is subordinate to. I don't understand how the gentleman is irrational to that point of not recognizing and realizing that as of that point in time, the highest power of the party had spoken. So he decided, because some people inside the party had actually they kind of look at his assets, his money, and they read the eye at the gentleman's money, and they thought that, okay, well, because he has a little change that he can contribute to the party and help the party along, that then constitute him purchasing the party. The party was never for sale. And he felt aggrieved that they would kick him aside after he invested some money in the party. I would have felt aggrieved too. But with my temperament, I would have locked my tail between my foot and probably moved on. He chose otherwise. He's not me, and I'm not him. He made his own choices, which he's entitled to. But in the exercise of those choices that he made, that he was entitled to, he created a bigger rift in the party and created a bigger scandal and a bigger problem for the party, right up to the point of the election and beyond the election, as of even today's date that we are talking. I'll go to the next sequence of events. After he was kicked out of that position, he was not kicked out of the party, by the way. Like how he was doing, he was actually trying to kick people out of the party, including elected parliamentarians. That's the type of temperament that the gentleman had. You know? And, let me go back. So he went to the Speaker of the House, requested of the Speaker of the House to get rid of two of the parliamentarians then. He never asked that Speaker to get rid of his aunt that had not shown up for any meetings in the House from the time she was elected. But he won't get rid of the two parliamentarians then that were attending most of the parliamentary committees. So for all intents and purposes, those parliamentary committees did not have any opposition members assigned to them because of his request. Besides that, the gentleman was so nefarious in his behavior that after the UEP had the convention on the 20th of October and decided to, get rid of him, he decided that, okay, he had people who he was subordinating in terms of providing funding for their campaign, and they were beholden to him, and therefore he was going to hold on to the position as leader of the party and reconstitute that, what was left for him or available to him, into a different UDP. That is the UDP that he was saying was the real UDP. And that the other people who had kicked him out of that position were not the UDP. Why? Because he was still a parliamentarian with 3 supporters out of the 5 elected to parliament. And that gave him the opportunity to then be classified as the leader of the opposition in parliament, or the leader of the parliamentarian. And they call that person the leader of the opposition in parliament, not the leader of the opposition party. Those are 2 different entities. Sometimes the same person occupy those both positions or wear both crowns. But for all intents and purpose, after the leader of the party position was stripped of him, he remained the leader of the opposition in parliament, because that's a parliamentary process. And once you're elected to parliament, your party just can't dismiss you out of parliament. There are other technical things that relates to somebody being in parliament and being aggrieved with his party, or his party being aggrieved with them, and they can cross the aisle, and then they can eventually have to give up their seat. And I don't want to get into all those mechanics and technicalities in terms of what I'm saying. I'm just pointing it out that those are some other things that happen, but that is not the core of what I'm trying to stipulate here tonight. I'm trying to stipulate the fact that because the man was elected to parliament and had 3 out of the 5 UDPs to support him, he had parliamentary rights and powers vested in him according to our Belize constitution. That's a matter for our national constitution to resolve or to deal with. But he decided to use that position as leader of the opposition, file a case in court after he knew that he was already stripped by the legal authority of the party under our constitution, which the Constitution of Belize mandates that no officer of the government should tamper into any political affairs of any political party who has their own constitution. It is written in the Constitution of Belize as such. So he decided to go and ask a court to intervene to get back the headquarters from the duly constituted people who had the right and the powers and authority vested in them constitutionally, both by the Constitution of Belize as well as the Constitution of the UDP, for them to have control of that headquarters and to be able to move on and do the political affairs of the party. He went and misrepresented that to a judge, to tell the judge he needed to have those facilities back in order for him to be able to do their radio broadcasting and do their political activities on their newspaper, when he was not the leader of the party anymore. So he claimed to the judge, him and his lawyers lied to the judge and claimed that they needed the judge to dispossess the people that had the headquarters and turn it back over to him because they acquired it without having a court order to acquire it. He did not explain to the judge that he was already kicked out from that position and he had no authority to exercise any such powers on behalf of the party. In addition, he also asked the judge to make a declaration as to whether or not the party was within its right, that is, the NPC was within its rights to have a convention and take away the leadership from him. And the poor judge, apparently not knowing enough about the constitution of the United Democratic Party, and apparently not knowing enough either about the Constitution of Belize, entertained both requests. In the first instance, he gave them an emergency reply to the emergency request. That is to say, yes, in the interest of time and because an election was due, they were entitled to have the headquarters to do their political activities, under the guise that he, as the leader of the opposition, is one and the same, conflated as being the leader of the party, which is two different positions. The judge apparently did not recognize those to be the case, did not understood the peculiarity of those two functions, and because the leader of the opposition is a Belize constitutional prerogative, the judge yielded to him that he then, as the leader, should be the one to be in control. When in fact, that was a bastardization and a conflation of the facts as they really are. Even as of today, that matter has not been settled in court, and they're still waiting for a resolution of that matter in court, in terms of the court case having to be ruled upon by the judge who entertained it and declared that he will be the one to decide on that particular matter. If he had known the facts as they really were, that judge would not have erred. He would have been in his rights and in the right judicial temperament to have said to the plaintiff, I have no jurisdiction in that particular political matter because I'm restrained by the Constitution from indulging myself in that. And therefore I have no standings as legally would be declared. And then Mr. Barrow would have had no recourse in terms of, trying to do what he was trying to do and to tie up the matter in court. And the judge, again, had he known enough, at the least he should have called that matter for judicial review a lot earlier than we are as of today's date, that it hasn't been done after so many days, weeks, and months. The fact is that the judge, in making the temporary emergency ruling and the conflated lies that was told to him, became a mischief maker and empowered Mr. Shine Barrow to do things that he did not have any authority to be able to do, and behind which he was then conflating and saying that the judge had ruled a lot more substantive, to the point where the judge had to come back later and clarify that matter to say that what Mr. Shine was stipulating to the public is not what the judge had ruled on. The judge did not rule on the substantive case of the matter. He ruled on the emergency request for regaining possession of the headquarters. And even at that, as I said before, the judge, in making that emergency ruling, committed an error. Proper judicial temperament should have required him to know enough before making any ruling, whether it's an emergency ruling or a delayed ruling. In the case, in the second instance, the first instance was the emergency ruling to regain the headquarters. Before he gave a response to that emergency request, the judge should have been in a position to know the facts. No judge is supposed to make a ruling just from the seat of his pants. There are process, procedures, and protocols, and there is law. If Mr. Shan was already stripped of the rights to have possession or to act in any capacity as the leader of the party, how the hell can he be authorized to have possession of the party headquarters and its assets? But for the conflation and the lies that they presented to the judge from a legal perspective, which means that they could have also been sanctioned. As a matter of fact, as of today date, the lawyers that made that presentation to the judge could be called on the carpet for contempt of court. The court is not to be lied to. And anyone knowingly go and lie to a court is contemptuous of that court and can be sanctioned under the contempt orders. I'll go to the next step. That is to say, as regards to the substantive matter that was held in abeyance by the judge, unresolved until he makes a ruling on the matter. Because the matter was so critical and important and deemed urgent matter, that judge should have ruled on that matter within a few days after he got it, or he should have ruled even before the election was held, which was weeks after. The election is now held, and the judge is still holding, right, hostage a declaration on his part in regards to this matter. I presume, I'm going to be presumptuous now, right? I presume that the judge, when he gets around to deciding or making a decision on the matter, after a proper hearing, may be able to save his face or the egg on his face by ruling that because the election has been held and some people won and some people lost, and the people that won are in a position to prevail in terms of getting and keeping control of the party and its assets, that the electors made that decision clear. The judge can now hide behind that election that has already passed, despite the damage that he did to the political affairs of our country in that regards. He can now say, well, the matter is resolved. I had no jurisdiction in the matter in the first place. He had recommended that they go and have what they call it, a discussion among themselves with the help of other people to to have mediation, basically. And Mr. Shine refused to deal with any mediation issues because in his mind the judge had already ruled, and he was conflating and telling everybody that the judge had ruled that he, as the leader, was to get the party headquarters, and therefore the judge, under that stipulation, was recognizing him as the leader of the party, when the judge may have just been recognizing him as the leader of the opposition, which he duly was. But to conflate that to say the judge was ruling on the substantive matter that is still in the judge's hands of today's date was a lie. His effort from the get-go to take the matter to court was based on lies. For long before then, he knew what the facts were in terms of him having been dispatched. But he just wanted to be a thug, as usual, and power play the process. And because he's aggrieved, he's upset, he's going to tie up and make a mess of everything else. Of course, according to him, with the help of the judge. So now the judge is in a position now to go and make a ruling. And the most logical thing for the judge to do is to excuse himself from the matter. After having held it, I wouldn't say he kidnapped it, but he held it in abeyance beyond the necessary time or realistic time because of the urgency of the situation. That matter needed was to have been resolved before the election was held. But to the government, that was convenient for the judge to rule the way the judge ruled, and the Attorney General is satisfied and happy about that. At this point, as I said, the only way the judge could actually save some egg off of his face is to do what he should have done in the first instance. He had no jurisdiction in the matter. The matter was not a criminal matter, other than their possession or disposition of the property. But as to the issue of telling the party who should be their leader or not be their leader, the judge has no, he don't have one word to contribute to that discussion or resolution. He could not tell them who to choose or who not to choose. That decision was already made on the 20th of October. How the judge is incapable of recognizing that as a judge baffles me. How the judge is incapable of reading the Constitution, as I have read and pointed out in many other instances of programs that we have presented here. Is anyone to tell me that I read the Constitution on this platform so many times as regard to that matter? And I am not a lawyer in the bar of the Belize Bar Association, nor am I a judge. But yet this judge, who is supposed to be sitting above the lawyers to make judicial pronouncement, his temperament is going to be in such a haste to rule on matters that he is unacquainted with, or unfamiliar with, or misinformed on. It's very pathetic. And I'm going to say this. If he doesn't rule with proper judicial temperament, one person or the other will be aggrieved still and have the rights to take the matter further for review or for appeal. Because if the judge says that Mr. Shine Barrow should have been declared or is to be declared, because he has to make a declaration now. He held the case, right? He held jurisdiction of the case far beyond a reasonable time. And he still holds jurisdiction of the case and needs to dispose of the case. And as I'm saying, the way to save his own face, or the egg on his face now, would be for him to declare, as he should have declared in the first instance, he had no jurisdiction in the case or in that particular matter. He could not decide for the party who should be their leader. And that matter had long been decided, except for the conflation, lies, and bamboozling, the nefariousness, the deviousness of Mr. Shine Barrow and his lawyers, trying to lie to the court, power play the court, and power play the other members of the United Democratic Party who should not have had to gone through what they went through. If the judge were to say Mr. Barrow was the legally constituted leader of the party, of course, I don't know where he would probably get the information to back him up on that pronouncement, but were he to say that, it means then that the party would have been in a bad situation, because even though now Mr. Barrow has not resigned, but he has given up the leadership seat, he would have legal cause, to want to have his rights be redressed. So he then would continue to want to fight, if not for the party, at least for his own personal dignity. And as I said, as of right now, the judge held the substantive matter of the case, did not do proper judicial review, did not do so on a timely basis, and should have known he had no jurisdiction over the case. And as a matter of fact, for all intents and purposes, the solution to the issue or the problem has been arrived at after the fact, within the constraints and the process of the party. So even as of right now, he still has no jurisdiction. He's legally empowered to make a ruling, but what ruling is he going to make? All the judge did was to serve the interest of the political contingents, or you'd say the political adversaries, as in this instance, the interest not of the United Democratic Party per se, as per the Constitution of the United Democratic Party and the Constitution of Belize, but it served the interests of Mr. Shine, who paid for his request for the case, for the court case, as well as the emergency request. And the judge would also have been doing what you call political mischief, which is the worst part of it, on behalf of the government power, who bamboozled their way into having an illegal election expedited ahead of time that should have been due by November, or at the latest 3 months after November. So for all intents and purposes, the government went ahead and have its early election, its illegal election, and the opposition to the government, being the United Democratic Party, could not solve their own internal problems other than for waiting for the judge to make a pronouncement, and that pronouncement never came on a timely basis. And when it comes, I'm not too sure how the judge is going to save his face, like I said. But I want to go and read some stuff here, okay? Because I was making commentary and elaborating off the top of my head based on what I know the facts to be. But I'll just read some material here quickly that people will be able to get a sense of where is it that I'm coming from when I'm making this pronouncement, because I didn't create the Constitution of the of Belize, the Constitution of Belize. I had no part in its genesis, its creation, or its alteration, modification, or amendments thereof, as of today date. Okay, I was never a member of Congress. Okay, I was never a member of any of the review committees that reviewed our laws in the past or made recommendation to the House for amendments to our Constitution. But I was one of 3 people who wrote the original Constitution of the United Democratic Party, and I'm fairly familiar with its expectation, what is expected of it, what it says, what it means, and I know when it's being bastardized. But dealing with both Constitution, I'm going to first of all quote from the Constitution of Belize what it says in regards to the very same matter that I've been speaking on just now. Took too long. I'm sorry about that. I took too long. I have to go back and find the material because I had it on my my telephone, and then it just disappeared because I took so long to let me see, not that one. I don't want this one. No. Okay, all 3 of them are right here lined up. Let me take this first one here. I just want to clear up this first issue here about what I made reference to just now when I said that I had something to do with the creation of the United Democratic Party, uh, constitution, the first constitution of the United Democratic Party. Oh man, it doesn't want to. It's not allowing me to access it. Shucks. Oh man. Okay, I'm trying to access the material, but I'm not being allowed to access the stuff. If I try to go any place else, I'm not going to get it. Mm-mm. Please bear with me. I was trying to access the material from a specific location and I'm unable to do so, so I gotta go at another location to access the same information. I didn't want to do it this way, but I know I was going to end up with problems. Oh man, let me go back to the other. Um, I can't access the material where I wanted to access it the first time, so I'm going to have to try another location, which is what I'm doing right now. Sorry for killing the air time, but I need the material. Okay, okay, so, man. Uh, okay, this is not funny. This is not funny. I'm still fighting to get information. I really like to apologize to everyone because okay, okay, let's see. Let's see. Okay, I'll just have to take this one that I have available. I had written an article on February 5th. The following comments or text were made between Leonard Brackett and Raymond Lashley and Miss Shanika White. Mm, on Miss Shanika White's Facebook post in Belize Elections Watch, which was a page uh, regarding the UDP power dilemma. And I titled it UDP Power Dilemma. The first text was written by Mr. Raymond Lashley, and he said, "My fellow Belizeans, please turn your attention to the 1993 general election. That is to say, an election that the United Democratic Party had won from the PUP government, and it was an unexpected win. So I presume at that point Mr. Lashley was intimating that we shouldn't be taking nothing for granted. He presented um, a site for people to go and look at. Of course, I'm not going to present that site here tonight because I don't have the facility to do so. But I'll just go on to item number 2 on that uh, discussion, which was written by Mr. Leonard, Brackett, myself, in reply to Mr. Lashley. I said to him, temperament, sir, temperament is the key, sir. In other words, I was trying to point out to him that Mr. Barrow Jr., Mr. Shine Barrow, needs to have the adequate and proper temperament, without which, he would not be able to solve the crisis that the party was undergoing at the time. I went on to say as well, Shine is not like Golson or Esquivel, because there was a comment that had been made before saying that Mr. Esquivel and Mr. Golson were people of highly effective temperament when it came to dealing with political issues and political affairs, especially when they had difference of opinion within the party structures. I went on to say, however, Shine will never follow Tracy Taylor Ponton's leadership of the UDP, which with hindsight now, we found out to have been the case. So I wasn't talking off the top of my head, nor was I being flippant. I was speaking to facts as I know them to be, and with the level of veracity that I'm able to muster when I'm making those asserting declarations. So I said, Shine will never follow Tracy Taylor Ponton's leadership of the UDP, which is why he had been trying to amass UDP National Party Conference or biannual conference delegates. I think I had spoken to that issue earlier when I started the program. That is, he wants to remain in leadership by kicking out elected representatives and standard bearers whom were his detractors or his nemesis. Ms. Shanika White went on to comment based on the discussion that was being had then, and she said, Leonard Brackett, referring to me, he, referring to Mr. Shine, is not like anybody because no two persons are alike, are the same. However, we cannot judge a man based on the hatred that others, selfish persons or people, have for him. She said, I would believe every word they say if they cared enough about Belize. They only care about removing him. So that is what that is why I cannot listen to them. Mr. Lashley went on to comment as well. Of course, I would have later on respond to Ms. Shamika, but in the interim, Mr. Lashley had commented as well. He said, Leonard Brackett, yes sir, Mr. Barrow isn't the same as Coulson. But um, we are also living in a different era, and people and perhaps the approach in leadership needs to change. While the Alliance for Democracy, which is a faction of the UDP, AFD, is focusing on uh, disparaging the leader to embarrass and demean and demean, comma, he did not. Uh, he is he is addressing the major. Where is it? He's addressing the major shortcomings of the PUP, and that is a full stop right there. Then he said, the AFD, which is the Alliance for Democracy, has opted to give the PUP a pass. Let's see what to say. While shooting themselves in the foot, they have yet to address any major concerns of the people, such as unemployment, crime, healthcare, corruption, and a host of malfeasance being perpetrated by the government of Belize. The AFD, according to Mr. Lashley at this point, he was saying, sole purpose for the existence is to remove the party leader, which at that time he was not the party leader anymore, okay? So apparently the conflation is still being perpetrated. That is to say, despite the fact that he's not party leader anymore, we will still call him party leader because we want to call him that. Well, that's their choice. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion, ideas, and conclusions, right? But at this point now, Mr. Lashley was closing off his comment, and he was saying the AFD sole purpose for existing is to remove the party leader. They have shown no desire to fight for the country. Man, and there's something missing out there. For the ordinary man, and give themselves a chance at winning the upcoming general election. Now, mind you, this was prior to the election itself, okay? I replied to Mr. Raymond Lashley. I said, Mr. Raymond Lashley, my dear esteemed, learned, patriot, venerable brother, and vanguard of Belize, everyone is entitled to their opinions, ideas, everyone is entitled to their observation, ideas, and opinions, and the right to propagate and communicate with others, be they whether they are right or wrong. I differ with some of yours, I said to him, and respect that you are doing more than others. That is to say, others whom are not even engaged and could care less. Mr. Lashley went on to retort back to me by saying, Leonard Brackett, respect my honorable brother. And at that time, I had the opportunity to then re-engage back Miss Shamika White on her comment. And I went on to say, Shamika White, my dear sister, you are interacting with the person who was the instigator for the creation of the working team that the working team that that morphed into the Unity Congress of British Honduras, who then gave birth to what is now called the amalgamated UDP. In other words, I was trying to identify myself to her because apparently she didn't know who she was talking to or texting with, and she was making comments, as I read earlier, about her not listening to people who are against Mr. Sharon Barrow's conduct and who are trying to get Mr. Sharon Barrow to change his ways or move on. Because at the time that this discussion was being had, he was already pulling the party and creating more mischief and trying to get rid of elected officials so that he can take over their division under his wings and put people that he wants to put that are more favorable to him. In other words, he was looking to recreate the party in his own image and likeness, and he could care less how he was going about doing that, even in violation of the party's constitution itself. He was acting like an autocrat, like a dictator. You know, whoever is against him, he wants to destroy or marginalize. And the United Democratic Party was created by 3 different parties that had 3 different kind of philosophies, all who gave up, well, didn't give up fully, but gave up their namesake in lieu of working together under this banner of a coalition of the United Democratic Party. I went on to say to Ms. Shamika, I said to her that the Unity Congress of British Honduras that then gave birth to the amalgamated UDP, for which I served in more than 24 positions as of today's date. Because a lot of people still does not realize or recognize or understand that I'm an operator behind the scene when it comes to the United Democratic Party. Okay? I wasn't in Belize for 3 months doing nothing when I was there the last time. I was there to take care of the issues of my party and my country. My country will always come ahead of my party. But just like how I flagged the PUP them, as you all would probably have heard me do on this particular platform and others over the last 60-odd years that I've been in politics, I am no respecter of person. I flag the UDP just like how I flag the PUP. Anybody that crosses the threshold of doing anything that is detrimental to my country and people, I'm coming for you. I'm going to deal with you. That is the purpose for my existence. So when I had to deal with Mr. Barrow, I deal with him. When I had to deal with Mr. Esquivel, I deal with him. When I had to deal with Mr. Lindo, I deal with him. When I had to deal with any other past leaders of our party, I dealt with them. But most of them, especially from the early days, to know who I am, and what I'm about. I go back to the rest of the comments that I was trying to make to Ms. Shamika White, and I said, I was one of the three persons who drafted the original constitution of the United Democratic Party. One of them being the Honorable Mr. Philip S.W. Golson and Miss Emma Boyton and myself, Leonard Brackett. We were the three people who drafted the original constitution of the United Democratic Party way back in the early 70s. Okay? I also went on to say to her, I was one of the 10 members steering committee of the Unity Congress of British Honduras, then under the chairmanship of Venerable Reverend Gerald Fairweather for 12 months, which gave formal birth to the United Democratic Party at the formal compact signing by Mr. Ulrich B. Fuller, Bunting Fuller, for NIP, and Mr. Dean Lindo for the PDM, and Mr. Harry Lawrence for the People's Liberal Party on the 24th of August of 1973, when that document was signed to form what then became known as the super opposition under the banner of the United Democratic Party. I went on to say, I was one of the 10 members, steering committee members of the amalgamated UDP under the first leader, who was the Venerable Reverend Gerald Fairweather, for 31 months, from 24th of August 1973 to the 6th of April 1976, at the UDP's first biannual conference held at St. Mary's Parish Hall. I also wrote, in addition, another article on the same issue, where I stipulated on November 11th of 2024, where I said the following comments was made by Leonard Brackett, and I titled those comments Error in Judgment. Error in Judgment. I said, the judge erred. He erred in not recognizing that Shine and his lawyers had lied, conflated, misrepresented facts, and was contemptuous to the court in their emergency pleadings to the court. I further went on to make another statement and said, Shine Barrow's position as leader of the opposition in Parliament is not the same as the Tracy Panton position as leader of the United Democratic Party. The judge made a hasty temporary ruling based on uh, being uh, incorrectly or ill-informed. And for that matter of fact, um, uh, let me see here. There's one other thing that I need us to read here. This one, let me see if that's it. This one I needed to read specifically. Let me check and see my timing because I'm running out of time right now. I only have 15 minutes left, and this one is a little lengthy. Um, I'll try not to make too much comment and hold my comments until the ending of this particular thing that I'm going to read because it's a bit lengthy and I only have 15 minutes left. So I'll read it up quickly and then hope that I have a couple of minutes left. Then I'll use that couple of minutes to make my commentary. So let me go. On June 9th, I wrote another article relating to the same subject matter. The following comments and citations were made by Leonard Brackett regarding the Belize Constitution. I titled this one, Belize Constitution, open bracket, a teachable moment, part 20A, close bracket. I went on to say, the Constitution is supreme law, part 1 of the Constitution, section 2, subsection 1. And it reads as follows. This Constitution is the supreme law of Belize. And if any other law is inconsistent with this Constitution, that other law shall, to the extent of the inconsistencies, be void. I went on to cite other constitutional sections to validate or substantiate my point. Protection of freedom of assembly and association. I would beg your indulgence to please listen carefully to this part that I'm about to read because it's very clearly stipulated. And as I said, I was going to try and avoid making comments, but I just wanted to ask that you pay attention to this particular piece that I'm about to read. What I'm about to read is found in Part 2 of the Constitution of Belize, Section 13, subsection 1, and it reads as follows. Except with his own consent, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom of assembly and association, or that is to say, his rights to assemble freely and associate with others, with other persons, and in particular to form or belong to trade unions or other associations for the protection of his interests. Carefully here, or to form or belong to a political party or parties, or other political associations. So except with a person's consent, no government official or no member or functionary of the government whether it be at the judiciary level, whether it be at the legislative level, or whether it be at the executive management level. I'll read further for clarity again. Thus, as prescribed above from with the Constitution, the areas that I cited, I said, thus, as by constitutional prescripts, it is forbidden or impermissible or a bar for officers of the three branches of government, that is to say again, the executive or the legislative or the judiciary, for that matter of fact, to violate or infringe or constitutionally to violate or infringe on constitutionally enshrined and protected fundamental rights. I'll read the last paragraph, hopefully, so we can get at the end of this article and then make a small comment, like I said, if I have the time left. Yes, I may have. Let me read it. Let me finish it then. It says, therefore, no judge should overreach by dictating leadership changes to a political party or political parties' biannual conference delegates who have the maximum power according to the Constitution of Belize as well as the Constitution of the United Democratic Party. No judge should overreach by dictating leadership changes to a political party's biannual conference delegates. That is to say, those delegates then being the highest power of the constitutional authorities of the party, and which all committees under that constitution and party just a minute, which all committees and officers are subordinate and accountable to that entity. The entity then being the biannual conference delegates, who holds the maximum power under the constitution of that party, and which is also authorized and vested in our national constitution, as I read above, the authority and the right that nobody in government is empowered to, and it's a bar for them to create any mischief making, such as what we saw this judge did in accepting and entertaining, capturing the ability to have a resolution to this issue that he had not provided any resolution to. Does anybody think that I'm talking over my head, or I'm impugning the judge incorrectly, or I'm saying something that doesn't go so? The Constitution says. The Constitution says that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And judges are supposed to rule according to the law of the land. And the law of the land says that no judge, no prime minister, no head of the, nobody that belongs to the legislature, nobody that belongs to the three branches of our government is empowered or entitled to meddle into the affairs, political affairs of any party. Much less create a situation where they will hold in abeyance the resolution to the party's problems or issues until that judge makes a decision. That judge is overreaching. That judge is being mischievous. He's being malicious. He's not comporting himself or acting with good judicial temperament in good faith towards the well-being of the country and people. Because our democracy demands that the political affairs of the country are run in a certain pattern or a certain kind of way and not abrogated or stepped on or abused, misused, or messed up. But a judge is going to hold in abeyance a resolution to a critical issue that makes a difference in terms of how the country gets governed, to the point where the two factions of the party that needed to have resolved their issue was locked out of an opportunity to be able to have those issues resolved and entered into an illegal election. There's someone here in the background. Just let me see if I can bring in Mr. Wade. I see him in the background here, and we're almost at the end, and I don't want to be unkind and have him in the background and not. Good night, Mr. Wade.
Good night.
Um,
Good night.
I
Good
was
night.
just about ready to wrap up a little part here, no, and then
Go ahead. No, I
go to
listen. I just
yeah.
want to sit with you for a little bit.
Thank you
I
very much,
just
sir.
got untied. So
Okay, well, we'll probably have a little chance to
yes,
spend a
man.
couple of minutes before we close off. No, let me take
Yes, sir.
another minute or so to close off this thing. I was begging the public to please bear with me as I
Go
get
ahead,
through
sir.
it.
I
No,
want to listen. I'm listening.
yes, sir. And this little part here is critical that I'm about to finish read. So let me okay. Therefore, no judge should overreach by dictating leadership changes in a political party's biannual conference of delegates, uh, being the highest, that group of delegates then being the highest power, constitutional authority of the party, and to which all committees and officers, including the chairman and the leader and everyone else, are subordinate officers and accountable entities. As such, overreach by any judge or any minister or anyone in government or the legislator or meddling or hindering of or rulings would be an infringement of constitutionally protected rights and be violative and ultra-virus of the precepts of Belize's constitution as well as the constitution of the United Democratic Party. So that's a wrap up, tying it all with a clear bow as to what the facts really are and why is it that the judge has taken so long to make his final pronouncement. It's a travesty, if not maybe even worse. It's a bastardization of our democratic process, procedures, protocols, and way of existing in our country of Belize as a democratic country. I yield, Mr. Chairman. You have something? We have a few more minutes. Maybe we could. Well, oh man. Okay, we'll take another 5 minutes so you can have some time to. You don't have to comment on this because this is all is self-explanatory, other than the fact that I was reading it slow and disjointed and doing like a third grade reading. Embarrassing
Uh,
of myself, but
um,
I
you
yield,
know,
sir.
I said let me join you since I had wrapped up a little session I was on,
Yes, sir.
just finish up. So keep your company. But all in all, like you say, it's a travesty to see our judiciary system operates. We see that the level of we call it
Chicanery.
adhering to the laws and our constitution. We see where some judges that I think I've said this before, that get imported in this country. We see how they, instead of, they would try to learn or try to get some information, or but right away they rule on matters which is grave matters,
Hmm.
right away, and without, like really adhering to the rules and the laws of
Without,
our country.
without proper
But
sensitization, Mr.
eh,
Wade.
that's
Without proper
thank you,
sensitization.
thank you,
You're
Leonard, and
welcome,
and
sir.
we see it happen, Leonard. It's over and over, right? This two-party system, how they rope in these imported judges, right? And whatever and however they rope them in, whatever promise they get and promise they don't get, or and I noticed that in some cases, like previous government, when the couple of the judges they have imported, Leonard, and when they actually rule on substance and rule on the rule of law, they get rid of them,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not talking nothing, that didn't happen, you know.
It's,
So
un-
it's just to show you.
it's
So where is
unfortunate.
justice? How can one get justice? I have said, publicly, Leonard, I would like to see our own Belizean, right? Senior judges get elevated, and we stop importing. We stop importing these judges that has no knowledge. No, no, they haven't even lived here for not even a month, 2 months. But as they come here, they all of a sudden they rule on some things that they shouldn't have, right? So I would hence the reason why I say I would like to see our own Belizean, Leonard,
Get
right?
promoted. Yes, sir.
Exactly, right? So when they're out, I mean, really doing the wrong things to our constitution, we could check them. The news could check them. The media could check them. Ordinary citizen could check them,
Hmm.
right? But these judges that comes from over there, they have been bought and compromised, right? We see it happen over and over and over, right? So that's
That's
all
my
I, say on
that's my
that.
that's my
We'd like
belief,
some
sir.
changes,
That's my
changes in
belief.
that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, sir, and thank you very much for your contribution, Mr. Wade. Um, we have come to the end of our time for tonight, so hopefully, Friday we'll have a little bit more time to deal with some legal matters again. And before we leave, I understand that there's an issue in Belize City where one of the big wigs them in the city council went down to a restaurant that is downstairs at the city council building. There's a couple of restaurants there, by the way, but they went to one particular restaurant and told this person that they couldn't advertise, while the other restaurant closer to the bridge foot have been advertising from the time they opened their establishment, and nobody went down and hustle with them or argue with them or tell them that they can't advertise, or just because the people apparently are getting clientele that the other person who's maybe a favored individual is not getting.
This PUP party, Leonard, let me tell you, are very vindictive, and it could be far more reaching than that. Maybe they found out that these people didn't vote for them, right? They are very vindictive, right?
But the bottom line is that the Constitution says that the government cannot tell anybody what job to take, what job not to take, who to work for, who to work with, and they keep
Same thing.
losing cases at the court, as in the case of the ASR BSI case. They wanted to go and battle with these people in books and try to get information and things and tell these people what to do, how to do, and they lost the case. And they keep losing case after case because of the same bad style. They want to
And
power
what
play.
strike me, Leonard, that little thing that's a really quick one that's circulating, make media wrongs right here. I'm
Uh-huh.
pretty sure those people was advertising before the election,
Yeah,
before, right?
yeah,
What?
quite possible.
So you have to look at the level of treachery and you look vindictiveness. So now election is done now, and they found out that, but all along before election it was good because something had worked out.
But the
But
people
they
that have
found
the,
out that these people didn't vote for them.
yeah, the people that have their license, they have
That's
they
how they
pay the,
operate.
they pay their rent to the city council for the city council building where they rent, and the city council manager, the what do they call it? They have a different name for
Well, they're calling a Van name.
yeah,
That's the name they're
Van
calling
Gill, Van
publicly.
Gill.
Van Gill.
Mm-hmm.
That's the name they're
He,
calling.
he's one
Well,
of the
we all
prime.
know who that guy is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And
But
and don't
he
misquote me,
has no
people. The
power.
UDP is the same way too,
Yes,
right? They're no different.
but he has no power above the constitution to harm and pull nobody's job choices.
Well, his party has power up
Okay,
their yang yang.
no,
So
the, uh, the city council rents the property, and the city council have to abide by their agreement when they rent the people them with, and that agreement
I hope it
cannot
play out in
stipulate that the
court.
people have no right to advertise.
I hope those people sue them, Leonard. I just hope so. Take them to court.
Yeah, but the city
Let the
council don't
judge
have money.
decide, right?
They don't have money right now for pay for pick up the trash. So they have find money for pay for lawyer and find money for pay when the case lasts. You know, to the people them when, because then people, if they mess with them people enough, then people will lose business. And who you think will have to pay for their losses if they sue? Yeah, same Belize city council people them out of we pocket again. And these people never learn. I yield back, Mr. Wade, for another minute or so if you want to close it down
Thank
for me.
you. Thank you. No, it's sad, my people, to see, the vindictiveness of the government who's supposed to, be there to serve the people and be there for the people, right? But we see the level of treachery of this two-party system. But I say this is only Rudy Wade, what I have observed. The UDP, the PUP is more vindictive than the PUP. Than the UDP. More, they know to use that word vindictiveness. They
Mm-hmm.
use it, right? And we're seeing it here now, like playing out, right? So sad, right? So my people, this is what you voted for. This is the attitude of what you voted for. Did it
Can you agree
change?
with it?
Did it change? And I say the worst is yet to come.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I gotta say. And I say good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wade, for the closing, and thank you for your contribution to the program tonight. So, I hope that people who have listened to it while it was live will take the opportunity to go back and review it again. So, whatever little piece they may have missed out or didn't pick up at the first run, they may be able to appreciate the effort, and they will derive some positive public benefit from it. Again, good night, Belize and Belizeans at home and abroad. Thanks again. This was Leonard Brackett, acting as chairman for the Belizean Affairs Show, number 269. Look like we'll make that 275, Mr. Wade. We're getting close to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good night
Thank
and
you.
goodbye.
Good night.
God bless always.
Thank you.